Welcome to 704 Paranormal, a podcast exploring the darkest corners of history and the paranormal for the Tar Heel State. I am your host, Alston. Tonight, we're serving time behind the bars of the infamous Whiskey Prison in Mount Pleasant, North Carolina. Built in 1927 and founded in 1929. Our story begins in Mount Pleasant, North Carolina. The facility, now known as the Whiskey Prison, was originally called the Cabarrus County Correctional Facility. It was built with a more humane effort in mind, rather than the chain gang and hard labor of the times. You see, the prison was one of the first built after a reform bill passed that outlawed inhumane practices to prisoners in North Carolina. Now, time to paint a picture of these living conditions they had. Picture this: 100 men barracks, essentially 50 inmates per side. But as the prison became overpopulated, that 100-man barracks turned into 200 inmates living on top of each other. Imagine bunks stacked 3 high and a mere 18 inches apart. With the current overcrowding problem they were facing, it's easy to see how things could get violent quickly. Oh, but the prison had an answer for that. To mitigate violent inmates or troublemakers, they installed hot boxes and solitary confinement. The hot box was a windowless isolation shed with a fire furnace and no fresh air. This punishment was so severe, it is now outlawed and strictly forbidden. Prisoners were housed to upwards of 60 days. During that time, they would experience extreme dehydration, heat exhaustion, and even death. In the summer, they would light a fire in a hearth just to increase the temperature and humidity in the space. With the hot box as a form of punishment, there is no wonder why inmates would be driven mad enough to attack the guards just to try and escape. It is even noted that once a prisoner tried to escape the hot box by overpowering a guard, grabbing his pistol, and shooting through the guard's abdomen. It is said if you are brave enough to visit the Whiskey Prison and you go out to the hot box they have remaining, there you will notice there currently is a dent in the door where the bullet went through the guard and struck the door. His escape attempt, however, was futile. The Whiskey Prison currently makes whiskey, or spirits as some people refer to them. However, when it was Cabarrus County Correctional Facility, it was creating spirits by a different means. Many inmates were reported to have met violent ends during their stay there. Inmates committed suicide by whatever means available just to be released from the cold steel bars of this structure. One inmate is reported to have hung himself in the solitary confinement cell number 4. But the hot box and suicide were not the only means of death in this facility. An inmate was reported to be murdered in the building they currently use for barrel storage in what used to be a bathroom. The locals have even said that the old prison grounds are haunted, from stories of footsteps behind patrons, strange noises in the night, and keys that would go missing and reappear after a long search. I've heard tales that mediums wouldn't go within 20 feet of the hot boxes due to the feelings of extreme sadness and pain. There is a particular bathroom in the facility that causes extreme unease and feelings of anxiousness in people that visit it. Recently, I reached out to a guide at the paranormal tour there, and he gave us an account of some of the spirits that are still enjoying their stay at the Whiskey Prison. Distillation has Johnny. General Storage has Jake, Tom, William, and Leon. Joker is a spirit that resides in solitary confinement in the production building, and Donovan is in the barrel house. The gift shop has Victor, Norman, and John Stockton. The other solitary confinement building has Reddy Carter and an unknown guard that was abusive to inmates when they were there. But that still is not all who calls the Whiskey Prison home. It has been said on tours that there is a spirit of a little girl named Lizzie who was 14 years old. Before these grounds were a prison, they were a farm during Civil War times in the South, so it is believed that Lizzie was the help, and apparently she's still doing her job, caring for another spirit that is reported to haunt the grounds, a 2-year-old that goes by the name of Victor, which has been confirmed to have lived and died on those grounds when it was a farm. With all this history and all of the reported spirits residing on the grounds, this place is a must-see for anyone interested in the paranormal. Now, flash forward to current times, and the Cabarrus County Correctional Facility is known as the Whiskey Prison, aka Southern Grace Distillery. The distillery is not only known for making excellent whiskey, but for being the first distillery in the country to be brave enough to turn an old prison ground into their place of business, which must be ironic for any of the spirits that still roam the grounds, seeing how a lot of them were locked up due to making and running illegal liquor during Prohibition. However, in current times, the spirits are the stars of the paranormal tours and the private investigations now hosted on the site. A notable investigation was when ghost hunters visited the facility for an investigation in November of 2022. They titled their episode Poltergeist Prison. With a facility that houses so much history, paranormal events, and bourbon, you can count on 704 Paranormal to conduct our own paranormal investigation in the coming weeks. Thank you for listening to 704 Paranormal, the podcast. And be sure to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. And if you like the episode, be sure to swing by our Spotify page and subscribe for more content like this.